Hello world, it's Dave again, and I've got another question and answer video to do today. This time from an email I received from Wales, so that's kind of cool, coming all the way from Wales there. And this is going to be Mr. Thomas. Few question and answers that I'm going to try and go through here. So, without further ado, I'll just jump into the questions and try and start answering them as best as I possibly can now. So, we go right into it. It says, I know the main job out there is teaching, and I gotta be honest, I didn't consider myself being a teacher, but I've thought it through many times, and I think I could be up for the challenge. Now, I know that you're teaching through Interact. Could you give me pros and cons for that company and the Jet and any other company similar to this that you've heard from another ALT? Yeah, that's pretty easy to do. So the big distinction that I would say between, if you're comparing my company, Interact, with Jet, is that Jet has a far more extensive interview process that you would go through. And I would say the competition for Jet is a little steeper as a result of that. That's why it's longer, as they're trying to really weed out people that might not meet whatever that standard is that they're trying to get to. And so a result of that is that when you finish Jet, no two ways about it from what I've understood from people that I've spoken to, you're going to be paid at least a couple thousand more in the your grand total, for the term of your contract. You're going to make a decent chunk more than you would working for Interact. So you could say that that is a plus of working for the Jet program. In addition to that, I've understood as well that although Interact will assist you in finding a place to live, that if you work for Jet, then you're going to be put up in a place where they actually cover all your living costs. So you can imagine that in addition to the fact that you're already being paid a little bit more, and then you put on top of that as well that you're going to have your housing paid for, you're going to be saving a lot of money. So right out of the gate, you basically have the financial aspect of Jet is superior to that of Interact. But then the thing that you might consider along with that is that, like I said, the interview process is a little shorter for working for Interact. So if you don't want to go through some huge long-winded process where by the end of it you may not make it as you had hoped to and get hired, and your concern is not so much the financial goal, but it's just to get out here and start teaching, then in that case I would say that Interact is a great choice, just because they're more likely to hire you, most simply put, more likely to hire you, and the process of it is going to be done in a shorter period of time. So those are the two differences. You either get the money or you could get the convenience of being hired. And I can speak from my experience with Interact once you're over here. It's been I would say it's a solid company. No situation is going to be perfect. The ideal is usually somewhere removed from the reality, I like to say. So, there's going to be issues, but that's just the fact of life. To think that you'd escape away to any job, any position, and not have, some issue with it along the way in the course of the contract or the years that you find yourself working it is kind of deluding yourself. I don't know anybody, and I know people in a variety of jobs, from mechanical engineering to education to hospitality, where you got your good days and your bad days. So that's something you should not, like I say, delude yourself with. If you find yourself in the job, say you opted for Interact or one of these other companies, didn't go for Jet, and you're having a little bit of difficulty at some point, and you think, oh, maybe I wouldn't have that if I had gone to Jet. The one thing you can be certain of, the only thing you can be certain of, as I say, is sort of the job parameters, but not your experience within it. That's going to just follow life and all the variety that you get from it. To talk about other companies, I know I can basically talk about ones that exist. I know there's a company called Amity, or Amity. I think Amity. There's also Ion, I believe. There's also Peppy Kids Club. Now, these other companies that I'm talking about, the one that I know the most on, or most about, is the Peppy Kids Club, because the Peppy Kids Club, of all the names, I can't believe they went with that. I actually have somebody who just lives down in the same building complex as I do who works for that company, and he's had a pretty good ride there, but it entirely differs from the kind of experience that I've had working with Interact. And I won't speak at length about that company because there exists already a video that I've made entirely dedicated to discussing the Peppy Kids Club and all the details, because I went over, I spoke with him, and I took notes, and I did a very thorough job of trying to say what was good or bad, or just kind of talk about the experience that somebody might have if they worked for that company. So if you're interested in that, go check out that video. I might even post a link here, or wherever on the video, that if people are curious about that, they could check it out as well. But that's kind of, I guess I could say, my pros and cons between working for Jet and Interact as far as I understand them. So that's a good entrance into there. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Getting a call from my buddy. Later. With getting work and teaching, I know the majority of places set you up with a flat and all that, which will be better than me just moving there and hoping to find work, as I don't know anyone there except for a few friends. Do you know any other companies that might take gaijins to work at schools? I guess I've just kind of talked about that. There's all these different options that you have, all these different companies that are hiring and working in tandem with the Board of Education. You say that the only worry you have is teaching kids, as you might not be confident in front of the children. You think you would prefer teaching adults or teenagers more than children in elementary school. Not saying that you wouldn't, but you're just not sure if you would like to do it or not. I would say, in answer to this, just you kind of philosophizing about how the experience might be, definitely most of what your opinions of those children or working with children are is a misconception, a preconceived notion based on an imagined future that doesn't exist. The kids will always surprise you, and I found, I've also made another video dedicated to this as well, speaking about junior high versus elementary school, where I had kind of a similar sentiment when I first came over to Japan. I thought, I wouldn't want to work with younger kids because there's not yet developed a personality, and I don't want to just have a group of drooling children that I can't truly interact with. But you find, in my experience, everyone has their own, but that it's actually kind of the polar opposite than what you might think, where a lot of the students, the older that they get and they hit junior high and then high school, and then adults are a whole different story I couldn't speak about as much, but the older that these kids get going through the education system, especially hitting this adolescence, there's all these additional things that confuse them in their social awareness. They're running into their sexuality, they're running into a more complex social hierarchy, and this has the habit of shutting kids up and making them not so willing to express themselves. And where I teach junior high school, and so it's ages 12 to about 14, 12 to 15 roughly, and it is easily my experience to say that the 12-year-olds are so much easier to work with than the 14 and 15-year-olds, because they don't have all these mental hang-ups. They're way more open. And then this is only compounded where you then to go into an elementary school setting. I found, you can occasionally get sub-assignments, which I've had, and I've gone to work with kids at elementary schools, and bar none, some of the best experiences that I've had while I've been in Japan are working with these younger kids, because you think that, like I say, these Ichinensei grade 1 in junior high school is open. Wait till you teach these kids. They eat up energy off of you. So if you're positive, they get incredibly positive, and vice versa. They're so energetic and without any hang-ups that it's very easy in that kind of setting to be enthusiastic. And I think that your worry, like I say, is imagined. Anyone could do this. There's just to see how you've written your email, to see the sort of perspective that you bring to your life in general, I'd say that you would be successful there. It really is an approach and a perspective that makes you successful. I do not think in this kind of experience that there is a certain intellect that you need to have, or a certain skill set. It's more an approach, and then your approach will give you that skill set that you need. So I'm just saying, don't be so hesitant to work with those younger kids. You can have a great time working with older kids. I really do too. When I've gotten through the other barriers of when these kids have grown more comfortable around me in the junior high school setting in the older grades, then they're wonderful to work with too. But like I'm harping on now, you would be surprised at how much easier and much more fun it immediately is to interact with these younger kids. It is a great surprise, and it was a surprise for me because I went in and nobody had said what I'm saying to you previously, and so it really blew my mind. And that was almost part of the fun, is to have had this preconceived notion and then have that destroyed by the kids. And so it was this great moment of realization for me. But it can be a benefit to know beforehand, because I would hate for you to not involve yourself with that experience or lend yourself towards another, thinking that it would be all those things that I went in with, where I thought, they wouldn't have a personality, they wouldn't interact, it would be overly basic, all these other things. Working, to put it very simply, working with younger kids can be incredibly fulfilling. I have a roommate who works in 5 different elementary schools, and he's been here for now 3 years. He loves the experience. When we are out and about in town, all these kids are saying hello to him. They absolutely love him, and he has a great experience with them. So I really do. That's like an important thing I try and talk to people about, is just how good the experience is with younger kids. And, something I mention again and again and again and again, and I'll mention it again here, is also that if your interest is as well to be more hands-on with your classes, like if you are really interested to come over here and take a central role in the classroom, you would do that more so in an elementary setting than you would in the junior high school or high school setting, because, and I've repeated this, I'll say it again, who cares, when you move into the higher grades, you're moving into a higher level grammar set, which would require that more Japanese is spoken in the class. And that would mean that you're going to have to take a further and further back role in the class while that sort of grammar is explained to the kids. Where, if you are in an elementary school setting, there's not nearly so much grammar. There's like this, a wise person would tell you that, don't teach them or don't describe to them things. You're going to teach them. Don't describe things, show them things. And so you get to be way more interactive. And so for someone, like I say, who wants to take a role that isn't quite so laid back like mine is, and I love it, then you would want to, in fact, work in the younger grades. So that's spending quite a bit of time there, but I feel it's necessary because I think that is one of the biggest, most misunderstood things about coming over here and teaching, is the perception of younger children. So that's that idea there. Let's see, not to say you wouldn't lie. Do you know any other field of work that is not teaching that will hire gaijins? Not saying media work, but that would be great. But any other company which I don't have to have Japanese to begin my work. If you could recommend some of these companies and sites, that would be great. I wish I could be more helpful in that respect. I've met someone recently who's not necessarily working with schools. They're doing teaching, but in a corporate setting, so I know that exists. But I would say this to you, that if it is your aspiration, if it is your interest to work outside of the school setting, I think that the school setting is a fantastic window or door, shall we say, that you can walk through to then find that opportunity. It's great as a transitional position, because if you get into this job and you know that the contract is only going to be for a year, 13, 12 months, whatever it is, the whole time that you're here, you're going to have all these different social opportunities, and you're going to have all these different occasions where maybe, you meet somebody at a party and they want you to teach their kid. Or the more open you are, the more experiences that you're going to have when you're here. And like you said, it's the case anywhere, really, whether you're in Wales, you're in Canada, you're in Japan. It's the people you know that give you access to different positions. And so if you come over here to teach and you make yourself open and you embrace the culture and the language and this and that and the other thing, then you're going to meet people which could have the potential of allowing you to then work outside of this environment of teaching specifically. And it's just a great way. I mean, how do you make friends in Japan? Well, you live here. Well, what's an easy way to live here? Well, you can teach here, and that's kind of the stepping stone to then to move on to something else that you might be interested to do, working in media specifically. You know, it just, like I say, the more social you are, the more opportunities that you're going to have. I've made a point of almost being antisocial because there's sort of personal projects that I have to work on, and in my efforts to be antisocial, I've still run aground of tons of different social situations that that have opened up lots of different opportunities. And that's, like I say, with someone like myself who has had kind of a reserved approach to that. So if you came here like you are interested to work in media and you go to every single social thing that you can, you talk to everybody that you can, I think, you know, give it a year or two, and then that connection might suddenly click. You know, it's your intent, your belief, which will create the ultimate result for you, I think. Just like I say, if you go in with that right perspective with the teaching, then there will be no problem. Anything is overcomable. Okay, so that's kind of speaking a little bit about how you might work for another company outside of teaching. It's basically saying teach to work outside of teaching. That's kind of the simplest way to put it. Let's see, is there anything else I could say from the email? Graduated filmmaking. I think you mentioned here something about not knowing any Japanese, but that's irrelevant. You would start to learn immediately. Like I say, if it's your interest to learn, you'll start learning immediately. And if you begin in teaching, then there's so many people around that speak your native language that you're not going to have a problem or feel a disconnect. You know, you'll pick the language up. Whatever company that you're working with will probably, if you ask, provide lessons, and so it's very easy to progress beyond that point of not knowing any Japanese. I'm doing pretty good now, I gotta say. You know, like here in my second year, I've gotten, you know, a lesson once a week, and generally just try to learn as much as I can. And it's one of these things, you know, where to begin with it seems like nothing is happening, but then suddenly there hits this day where you feel like all these little things that for so long seem disconnected connect with each other, and you break through these huge plateaus. It's just on your way to breaking through these plateaus, it seems like you're making no progress at all. It's weird, you know. For the first 6 months I felt nothing, but then suddenly in the seventh month I felt amazing, and then that continued for another 4, but then I broke through to this other plateau. So you never know with your efforts and the language when you're suddenly going to wake up and have gone through and reached that next level. So just that's just simple. Just stick with it. That's like so many things in life. So that's pretty much it. I think that's answering it as best I can. And this brief apology to Mr. Thomas here, because he sent me this email a while ago and I never responded. But here it is. I told you I'd make good on it. So I hope you find this useful. And of course, if you have any other questions, you're welcome to send me another email. That's sometimes the case. You know, I go through this and then somebody thinks, oh, that makes me think of something in addition to it that I should have asked. And I can further correspond with you through email. So that works. And like I said, also, if I'm too lazy that I didn't post the link up over there, then check out the Peppy Kids Club for the more in-depth information regarding that, because I do have that video. For anybody else checking out this video, if you find it useful, you know, subscribe. That would be great for me. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and all that good stuff. And like I like to say, until we meet again next time, world, thanks for tripping with Dave. Ciao for now. Peace.